What if it was easy? What if the massive vision that you have in your mind, the great calling that you feel to bring out to the world, and the bringing to life the manifestation of your soul's purpose could be easy? I'm Niyama Ashang, leader of the Trailblazer Oasis, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And that statement in and of itself, it's been really interesting. I've really only had that statement in me for the last 5 days. And what has been really interesting is that every time I get a chance to, I make sure that I share it. It's something that the first time I said it it was a deeply emotional and intense moment, because I found myself at what I'll call like an honesty crossroads, a truth crossroads. Am I going to say what's really true to me in this moment here and answer why I think I'm here on this earth? Or am I going to try and give this person a response that they probably want to hear? I have a part of my own path when I'm taking on new ways of being that involve, I've seen a pattern. The pattern typically involves me telling one person, telling like 2 or 3 more people, and then jumping on like Facebook Live or telling, like, in my way, that's me telling the world. That's me putting my stake in the ground. And each of those elements are another opportunity for me to go further down in the process of owning and embracing that part of me that wants to exist but hasn't. And through this process here, it's been 5 days since I've really come back into alignment with my soul's purpose. And what's been interesting has been, honestly, the number of people and the number of opportunities that have already started to come up that are immediately in alignment with what I'm here to do. In fact, I'm running an intensive in Singapore at the end of the month, and I had created, honestly, this idea in my mind that everything needed to be laid out. I knew I wasn't going to be able to have a specific minute by minute agenda. It's just not how I choose to play the game. But I was like, in my mind, I was like, I need to create a sales page that's going to wow people. But at the same time, I know that like the sales page will never be the reason that someone comes and decides to work with me, because I haven't learned how to translate my essence through written word at this point. And I was building up for weeks, like since January of this year. For the last 2 months, I've been building up to like try and start enrolling people in it. And yesterday, I found myself in alignment with my purpose and going back to that and realizing that this is not about me. It's about being out there to really get out there and serve these leaders who are ready to blaze their trail, or who are out in the wilderness right now, trying to figure out their path, and give them an opportunity and a clearing for them to be surrounded by others who are doing the same, and to be re-energized, retooled, and refocused toward what it is that they truly want. So I sent an audio message on WhatsApp to a few of the people that I really felt should be there. And I let them know exactly why. I slowed down and I shared why that individual, I felt that I wanted them to be at this event. There's only 15 people that I'm inviting or having at the event altogether. And I shared why I wanted them to be one of the 15. And immediately the yeses started coming in. This thing that I was thinking about, I had to build so much, ended up being as simple as picking up the WhatsApp, not even picking up the phone, and inviting them into what it is that is being created. So it has me thinking today, where else in my life am I adding complexity when there doesn't need to be? Where else in my life am I adding areas and thinking that it should be hard because it should be a certain way? Or this is how everyone else does it. I'm led right now by a modification of the Marshall Goldsmith quote, which the original quote is, "What got you here won't get you there." And that's been a place I've been leading from and coming from over the last 2 years or so. And I'm starting to realize that there's a modification that really applies for trailblazers. And the modification is what got them here won't get you there. We're now in a place where we need to figure out what comes next for us based on what is being brought forth and called from within us, why we are here on this earth and what we are looking to do. And from there, all things are possible. Today, I'm talking to Garrison Cohen, who is someone I would actually consider a master of possibility. When I talk to Garrison, like the stories that he has, the insights that he shares, the experiences that he's allowed himself to go through, and that he's created. And I would say, and Garrison, I'm talking to you here now. I feel like you both created, but you call it, you draw these experiences to you in ways that that are beyond like that don't feel as like they're effortful, you know? And I really want to just call that out. I am so excited to spend some time with you. We both have no idea where this conversation is going to go. And that is absolutely perfect. I think more than anything else, just spending time with you and being in conversation and service is fantastic. All right. So I'm going to unmute you here. I would love for you to just speak yourself into this room. It's great to be able to spend some time with you, Garrison.
Yeah. Thanks, Niyama. It's really good to be here. And I was really enjoying your intro to this piece and your intro to me. So much to talk about. Speak myself into the room. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm just
really quickly. I'll give you a path here for us to go here because
okay.
The two questions first. What did you enjoy about it? You said you were really enjoying it. What did you enjoy about it?
So you said, "What if it was easy?" Mm-hmm. And in my mind, as I was listening to it, I heard myself say, I'm pretty sure it is easy. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I've just had a tendency to make it hard. But it's like, if I took myself out of the picture and I was still clear about this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to create, there really is a just consistent level of steps that one would take. But I know for myself, in my very human experience, there's that doubt and that thing that happened when I was 6 when someone said, oh, you're not good at that, and I made something about myself. And now when I want to move towards that thing, I feel this contraction inside of myself, and now I feel all this doubt and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, aside from all of that made up stuff, and I've seen other people do it, which has been awesome and inspiring to me. You know, those people out there where it's just like, they just keep putting one step in front of the other, asking for what they want, saying what they're up to, and the world's responding to them, and they keep going, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And it's amazing. And it's like, you know, it's interesting because I actually do find myself on that path more than I ever have. And even still, I'm still clearing away, oh God, here's that story again. And then I got to wrestle with it for a while. And then I, you know, kind of like, oh, got it. Oh, wow, everything's clear again. Yes. And then, you know, there's another old story. And, you know, I'm getting better at recognizing it and faster at dissolving it. But even still, it's like, it's been a journey and it's been a process. So yeah, I think it is easy. And I've just had a tendency to make it hard.
You know, there's something about this here. There's a smile that's on my face right now because there are two things that are coming out to me as you're saying this. The one is there's something fundamental in the way that it is easy, where it's like it is that I haven't thought about, where you're like the natural state of things is easy. Mm-hmm. It's not even, and I think sometimes when I even say it, I'm looking at it like, how do I make it easy? You know, this thing that is hard, how do I make it easy? How do I do it in a way that is effortless? And when you just said it here, it made me really look at it and say, what if the natural state of it was just easy? You know, and even that is making it harder. Like, what if it's just like the natural state is easy?
There you go.
And I complicate on top of it.
Straight there.
Just boom. The natural state is easy. Okay. Yeah. So let me just do it in the most natural way.
You could even take the natural state is, you could just say it's easy. You could cut it down to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ultimately, I really do believe that that's true.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
what I love to do here is um, give you a chance to like share a little bit about your journey here.
sure.
What I love to understand is kind of there's two parts. Your outer journey. So like who you look like on the outside to other
Mm,
people, your
mm-hmm,
accomplishments, it's beyond your bio. It's like this is the hit reel, the highlight reel, your proudest accomplishments in the
mm,
recent future. Like I would love to get a chance to see you from that perspective, and
mm,
then do what we do really well, which is to go deeper and understand who are you being, or who have you been to create this, and who are you being for what you're looking to create next.
mm. Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it.
let's do it, Garrison.
So can you like just bring me back to a question to kind of kick it off? Because that
Absolutely,
was a lot to take in.
Garrison. Yes. My question here is, if someone was going to identify you by your outer accomplishments,
Mm,
what would they tend to see?
hmm. Wow, man, you're catching me off guard already. It's like I spend so little time in that perspective that it actually feels kind of foreign to shift myself into that view of myself. Well, if someone were to look at me from the view um, of my accomplishments, I would probably look pretty rock starish. Not like rock stars in like, you know, Bono on stage. I mean, maybe in their world, but rock star in terms of, yeah, doing trailblazing things, being cutting edge, being very productive in the sense of my work, making a statement, positively impacting many, many people, and people deeply respecting the way that I um, held it and created it with authenticity and integrity and deep deep truth telling. Um, yeah, that's what comes to mind first.
Thank you very much for that, Garrison. Um, thank you for calling that out. And I'll
Yeah.
be
Wait,
curious.
can I
Yeah,
tell you one other thing?
yeah,
It doesn't happen as much these days,
yeah.
but I was in Boulder, Colorado over the summer, and I was crossing the street, and this car that had just passed by is going down the street. As I'm crossing the street, the car screeches to a halt. The window unrolls. Some guy sticks his head out the window and exclaims, "Fuck! Is that Garrison Cohen?" And I'm like, "Hello?" And I walked over to the window, and the guy was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're here. I've followed so many of your products. It's so cool to meet you." It was like, "Aw, that's so nice." So like things like that happen.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I thoroughly enjoy spending my time with you, Garrison. Because when you say that story, like I recognize it for myself in different ways too. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, he
cool.
knows what it's like. He knows
Yeah,
what it's like to have like a random person come on the street and be like, it's you, like you're here, you know.
yeah,
And I know that isn't something that just happened overnight for you. Like you've been building and being out in the world in quite a lot of different ways. Um,
yeah.
why don't you take me through just really quickly here, kind of like some of your journey along the way
Mm,
that has gotten you to the point where you do have that rock star quality, and people are stopping their cars in the middle of the street there. And I love to see what are some of the things that you've done, or some of the projects that you've been in. Maybe you can take us from wherever it starts to be to like where you felt like you were getting in alignment with you,
hmm.
um, to where you are right now.
Yeah. Hmm. Just trying to connect the dots. There's so many places I could start that story. Um, I just finished a blog post I was writing about how I've always felt that in some way I'm too much. Like my eyes are too bright. My energy is too big. I I like to go too deep in my questions and in my connections. And a lot of people can't be with that. And yet that's always been my jam. Like, how deep in truth can we be? How real can we be? How honest can we be with ourselves? And I think in a lot of ways, I've always wanted to base my work around that. I was, I majored in film production in college, and I wanted to tell stories that were fantastic and exciting and funny and heart-moving, and have people walk out of a theater saying to themselves, wow, I never thought about it like that before. And I think maybe it does start actually in college, because I wanted to make movies and tell stories that were far bigger than the container that the faculty wanted to create for us. And boy, did that cause a lot of upset. They were constantly saying things to the students, okay, everybody, what Garrison just did, don't anyone ever do that. Because I was constantly breaking rules that they didn't quite have rules for yet, but they most certainly did after I did whatever that thing was. And so, I ended up, for my senior thesis film, everybody pretty much gets rejected the first time they submit their proposal to the faculty. But if you get rejected a second time, you should probably reconsider your project. If you get rejected a third time, you should probably reconsider even being in film school. I was rejected 5 times. And finally, the faculty said, okay, you know what? We're just going to let you go ahead and shoot yourself in the foot if this is what you really want to do. Go ahead.
Sorry, was it 5 times on the same proposal, like more or less the same proposal, or was it 5 different proposals that each time they're like, no?
It was the same proposal, and every time they rejected it, I would rework it, and it would actually get bigger instead of smaller. And they were like, no, you don't understand. And I'm like, no, I think you don't understand. I'm pretty clear. And it created an enormous amount of upset. And ironically, or not ironically, my senior film was the only film from this school to ever be nominated for a Student Academy Award, which is run by the Academy Awards. If I had won, I would have been in the short film category of the Academy Awards. And we could fill our whole session with like stories of all the insanity that happened between me and the faculty through the process of all of that happening. But to answer your question, then I went on, I spoke on, after college, I continued to work in film, but I also supported myself by speaking at colleges around the country, teaching audiences of students, here's how your brain works. If you use it this way, here's how you can spend less time studying and get better grades and have more fun and success in school. And it was this huge thing I did for several years, speaking at colleges around the country. And then I found this organization in San Francisco that was doing the most amazing work I'd ever seen around authentic relationships. And I came in and ended up becoming one of the owners of the company and created a company called Authentic World Media to create video programs and audio programs to capture our work and share it. And it went worldwide. And that was a huge thing for a bunch of years, which brought us a lot of attention from big organizations. And then that company ended up becoming a part of Ken Wilber's Integral Institute, which is a bigger organization, committed to lots of things around consciousness. And then from there, I started another company called Evoca Media, where we created sex education programs for men, basically teaching men it was teaching men ancient Taoist principles on energy, breath, musculature, self-awareness, so that they could separate ejaculation from orgasm and just have the orgasm and hold on to the ejaculation, which was kind of a game changer for a lot of guys, and a lot of happy relationships resulted from that. And then in the past few years, there's lots of other things I've done, in between all those things. So I've had 2 different podcasts. I've had a transformational jewelry company. I got into blogging, and I only did 3 blog posts, but those 3 blog posts together got more than 1 million views. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a really good writer. And so that's kind of transitioned into my work these days, which I can say more about, but wherever you want to take the
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, let's do this. I want to take the conversation deeper because I know
Yep,
that's like where you like to play.
great.
But like I do want to also just give you a chance. Like, what is the work that you're doing right now? If there's someone like if there's a trailblazer right now that's like, because I know some of what you do.
Yeah,
The trailblazers out there that would really really benefit from even just knowing what that is right now. So why don't you share
yeah,
that and then we'll go in a little bit deeper.
great. Yeah, I'll speak to it very briefly. So what I do now is I work with thought leaders, visionaries, business leaders, um, emerging game changers, and I help them tell the story of who they are and what they do by writing a groundbreaking, career-defining speech for them. Um, this is a speech that goes so far beyond just a speech. I really hold it as I am building a custom-built Iron Man suit for their soul, so they can stand inside of it and magnify their voice and their vision and their mission and their purpose and truly be seen and heard by the world in a way where people are impacted and moved and inspired. And I teach that once this beautiful, amazing suit is created and fit perfectly for them, I teach them how to move in it, how to move their power through it, how to really own it, until they start to realize themselves they don't even need the suit anymore because they have grown to match the power of it, and now they've simply become that version of themselves that can be really seen for who they are truly here to be in the world. And I really see it as self-actualization for people who are here to truly be a contribution to the shift in consciousness on the planet. Mic drop. All right. So
Yeah.
that's what it is these days.
Yeah, thank you for dropping that mic, though, Garrison. Like, no, honestly,
Yeah.
there's elements of this here where I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
this is, and thank you for stepping into that and allowing yourself to evolve into what that is right now. I can see, I can feel myself in this moment, seeing how much you serve others,
Thank you.
and I just really want to acknowledge you for that. And I feel honored to be able to spend some time now just being able to serve you on a level that you love to play. You mentioned being too much. That's one of my I consider myself like I spiral, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people consider that in a negative connotation. But like for me, I'm like, my thing is I don't like to do things cyclically. I don't like to keep repeating the same things over and over again. I'm constantly on the spiral. I like to keep it as on an upward spiral, but I do spiral. And every time it's like on one plane, on every single next level, I keep hitting some of the same things, right? So I spiral upwards and I can spiral downwards in terms of depth. So I love to just like be with you in this moment here.
Okay.
And bring us back down to the depth that you naturally play at, right? Knowing that nothing will be too much and nothing will be too deep or nothing will go too far. We have until the top of the hour, and I'll just love to just be with you with whatever comes from that. So Garrison, like, I'm actually just going to slow down and just make sure I get into that space with you.
Yeah.
So recently, the calling of the soul has been on my mind, and you've traversed a lot in yourself. So if we were going to talk about something today that fulfilled your soul, it might be your soul's purpose. It might be something else. I don't know. I want to give it some space on there. But fulfilled you on the soul level, what would we need to talk about today?
There are two directions it could go in, and I just want to say what they both are. One is, there's a huge evolutionary edge for me around growing what I've created into what's next. And I'm already working on shifting it from me doing the majority of the work and going to my creative team to consult on the editing and consult on the writing and all of that, to empowering them to do the majority of the work and coming to me as creative director so I can work with a lot more people at one time, and really with the vision of growing this into an agency, like a world-class agency for some of the most powerful, moving, thought-provoking speeches for emerging leaders or just leaders. And there's a lot around that. That's a real edge. The other side of it is I want to talk about love and relationship. And if I'm honest with myself, which I am, that's really what's most up for me right now, is around partnership and meeting the woman that I want to marry. And it's that's a real edge to talk about, because I have judgment on myself for I should be there by now, and it's been a really long journey, and it's certainly come up where women have said to me, well, why are you still single? And the truth is that I have been on a very long life journey of healing a lot of very difficult, a very difficult upbringing from my parents, who were well-meaning people, but were role models in ways that it's taken me a long time to dissolve and unhinge and disconnect from the patterns of relating that I learned from them. And I've been very protective of my heart. And it's taken a long time to chip away at all those layers of protection to really put myself in a place where I feel really ready to be in a relationship that's healthy and sustainable and evolutionary. And so I'm in a place where I'm really owning. Yeah, I feel really ready to meet my life partner. And I have moments of feeling very frustrated and behind in that. It's really edgy to say. It's really edgy to share all of this. I like just talking about it. Just talking about it to friends has been like a completely new edge. And now I'm talking about it to however many people are listening to this right now. Hi, everybody. Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing, Niyama. I gotta own it. I gotta own it. Like I am making such a bold and vulnerable statement to the universe, and I'm willing to be heard in that and just speak it and say, like, look, I'm calling this in, and I'm willing to speak it out loud and own it. Because, and I gotta say, that comes back to my work as well, because honestly, I don't know of any better way to create our lives than to speak ourselves into reality. Because when we speak from the truth in our nervous system and we speak it, and people feel the authenticity of it and the truth behind it, it's not just the people hearing that, it's the universe hearing that and reflecting that truth back to us. And it's like, all right, let's do this. All right, I'm going to pause there because I've been talking for a bit here.
Yeah, and I'm going to invite you to unpause and keep talking. You're not too much for me, my friend. Keep going.
All right. Yeah. So,
what is it? What is the thing right now? Because you're saying, like, speak it. What is the thing that you're not saying right here? And let me just say, I acknowledge you, and
sure.
like for stepping into that edge. Like,
yeah,
I'm with you, and it's the place we need. It's the place we should play, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, what is the thing that you're not saying right now?
What's the thing I'm not saying? I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of my old life where I'd been very protective of my heart. I'm tired of trying to do it right. What am I not saying? Hold on, let me see if there's something even. underneath all of that. I was doing a video shoot earlier today for my new website, and the footage came out great. And I looked a little older than I wanted to. It was like, shit. It's so vulnerable to share that. I have a story kind of like what I was saying before, where it was like, I feel like I've felt through much of my life that I'm too much. And I think in the background, there's a story I have that I'm too much for someone that I would really want to be with. That could be a part of it as well. And also, I wrote a letter, and you know a little bit about this. I wrote a letter from 2 years in the future, looking back on having met my life partner. And we'd been together for 2 years. And I wrote that letter and spent a lot of time working on it in the sense of calling that into being. And I shared it with a very small select group of people. One of them was a friend of mine who's a very, very evolved human being and just a relationship guru, and I really think very highly of her. And she thought it was beautiful, and she did point out that she could feel that there was some attachment to that vision. And she suggested that I write a letter of 2 years in the future of not having ever met my partner. And I'm almost done writing that, and that brought up so much for me around, wow, two years in the future, and I'm still just alone in that sense. And I'm still working through all of that, because the third letter is really those two letters combined, where yes, I've met my partner and I'm good on my own. And I'm still in the place where I'm working through some of the real confronting fears, probably some anger, probably some fear and hurt and all of those things around, wow, 2 more years and not having that, and being 2 years older. So yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing.
So Garrison, as you say this here, and let me know if you want to play this game here.
All right.
There's a part of me, I've never done this game in this way. I've always it's always been around like professional business and such like that. But like, if it would be of help to you, if it would be of service to you, and you can let me know either way, I would be very happy to enter a conversation with you 2 years in the future, as though this hasn't happened, and give you a chance to explore that and to be able to experience that in a different way. It's coming to me like intuitively here. I'm open to that there.
Yeah.
But I'm also in the spirit of play. So let me put that there as an invitation for you. And the second invitation that you have, you can choose either one of them, is just to let me know where you want us to take the conversation from here.
Yeah, man. Sounds rich. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So, so for this year, let's just play this year. That I'm creating a game right now in my mind as we play through it. I'm trying to see what rules would be useful for us.
Okay, and let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
We talked about going to the top of the hour
Yeah.
Is that the cap on this? Just so I have a sense of what our window is for this conversation.
For today, yes. For today,
Ah,
yes. I'm happy to also create more time around this year, but for today, I have a stop at the top of the hour.
sure. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So we can get a few minutes into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We might leave with it still in with us still in it, and that'll be okay for me too.
That's
Okay.
yeah. That I'm fine with that because here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm willing to be with all of that.
yeah,
So, if we crack it open and demons start coming out of my eyes,
yeah.
it might be like, wow, that's intense, but it'll be like, great, come on out. Whatever's in there, come on out.
All right, awesome. So let's just do it. Let's just go there.
All right.
So it's early March of 2022, right? You're 2 years older, right? I like to have these conversations in a physical place. So if you and I were going to meet somewhere and just have a conversation from where would we meet in 2 years from now?
We would probably be. The first thing that came to me is that we would actually be somewhere exotic.
Yeah.
Like I would, if I'm single 2 years from now, I already know, like, all right, fine. I'm in relationship with the world then. So I'm going to be global, international, traveling wherever I feel called.
Pick a place right now. Where do you feel called in this moment?
I felt like something in Bali.
Yeah.
I could see us in Bali. Yeah.
Awesome. Are we in like the beach part of Bali, or are we in like the wooded, like rice terrace kind of part? Like, just trying to say.
Yeah. I see you and I being on this deck, overlooking something beautiful. Maybe it's just some, beautiful vista. Maybe it's like some kind of water or something. But I see you and I there. It's probably late day, probably magic hour as the sun's going down. And you and I are just hanging out on deck, and it's like warm and beautiful and chill and relaxed. Yeah.
All right, so let's go there, right?
Okay.
And my invitation is that when we get there, we don't worry about how we got there. We don't worry about anything. We're just there, right? Mm-hmm. And we're just present in that moment. When I snap my fingers, we'll be there. We'll be there in early March of 2020, in Bali on a deck, overlooking this beautiful view right at magic hour, and let's go on from there. All right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Garrison, it is fantastic to be able to spend this time with you here. It's been a while since I've been to Bali, and I haven't even found this corner of it all here. Well done in finding this place here. Yeah,
man, it's so good. It's so good to be here with you. Yeah. It's fun to be on your side of the world.
Yeah, it's a different game over here, but it's really awesome. Like I'm happy we get a chance to spend some time together. Like when I got your invitation, I was like, yeah, I'm making this trip to come on over. Tell me, I can't believe it. We've known each other for years now, Tell me a little bit about what's going on for you in your life right now. Like, I guess, wow, we're already in 2022. Share with me a little bit of what's going on for you.
Well, business and work are really exciting. Like I feel really free and really bold and really penetrating in terms of creating in the world. And my company is growing. It's become a full agency now. I'm in the process of getting someone to replace me as creative director. So I'm already traveling more and just kind of overseeing things. And it's really exciting what's happening right now. Yeah.
Awesome. And, I know a few years ago, we were talking about you getting into relationships, and you had been writing out letters, and you had really been putting yourself out there in terms of all these things come to life. I mean, it's been a couple of years now. I'm kind of curious, how's that developed for you?
It has been such an interesting journey, Niyama. This life, wow, what a ride. No, it hasn't happened yet. And in the process of accepting that, I feel so free. And you know what the thing is there was no way around it. I had to come into such deep relationship with myself And I always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be, married. And for whatever reason, if that's not going to happen, then fine. I'm marrying myself. I'm in a relationship with the world. If this is the way the universe says it's going to be, then great. And maybe it'll change. But if it is going to change, it's going to be because the universe is reflecting me back to myself. So there's nothing left to do except just be in such beautiful relationship with myself and the world around me. Such a trip. Yeah. And I have moments. Like I have moments where it's like, oh, there goes another Valentine's, or, there's my friends and their kids growing up. I would have wanted that. But I just got to trust that it's unfolding the way it is. And as long as I know that I'm being true to myself and I'm being aligned with what feels true, then I just got to trust it. And that's where I feel a peace inside of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mind telling me? I just find myself curious. Tell me about you, being a father. Tell me more about what that means to you and such.
Yeah. Like I said, my parents were very well-meaning, but completely checked out. My mom was super anxious. My dad was super avoidant. And being a high-level empath, I literally brought both of those energies into myself. And so it's really been a lifelong journey around dissolving both of those energies and really coming into oneness. And, I've just always felt that I would be a really good dad. And it would mean a lot to have the opportunity to truly care for a being in the way that I wish that I had been cared for, and be able to pass that down. I think that would be a gift to me, and I think it would be a gift to a new soul coming into the world to have that quality of presence and attention. Yeah. Not to say it's still out of the realm of possibility, but yeah, I will definitely feel sad to miss out on having that part of a life experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I could feel that the journey that you've been on here, and being able to carry it forth in a new way. I'm feeling you in this moment here.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And I'll let you know, Garrison, I thought I was only going to be able to hang out on the deck with you for just a little bit, to the top of the magic hour, but it looks like I have some flexibility there, so I can be with you a little bit longer, as long as it works with you. So just letting you know that I'm here to take in this view and be with you. It actually doesn't surprise me that happened. I'm like, I have a feeling that this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, great. Yeah, I'm good to hang for a bit.
So tell me more about what I'm going to do here. You know me, I love to play. Now that I love to play, and I've also decided that I'm not going to keep people safe anymore. That's not the game that I play anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to just explore with you some of the parts about this that don't feel good, and just give us just to be someone, to be a friend with you, and be in witness of that as well. And give that a place to have its own light, and to be out in the world. Then we'll spend our time in the parts that do and such. But if I'm really going to serve, I feel called to help explore the parts that are less desirable. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say, before we move into that, I do want to say that I do feel that the conversation that we just had, I do feel that it was really authentic. I feel that, if it continues to be a solo journey, then I truly see the path of whatever is to come based on my relationship with myself. I really do see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there are definitely moments where it's been really, really lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And my invitation here is, hey, let's the two of us stay in 2022, right?
Okay.
And
Yep.
just give you a chance to be able to explore that, because I'm going to pause real quick on the game, right? Just so
Okay.
you and us can connect right now in this moment. Since there's nowhere to get to in this conversation, there's no way to end on this area. There's no like aha. There's none of that.
Right.
So let me check in with you really quickly here before we go back. Either we'll go back to 2022 or we'll stay in this moment. I just want to just check in with you.
Okay.
I can feel my intent here is to give you a chance to explore in a different way that which you might write to yourself later on, you know,
Yeah.
and to give you a chance to explore some of the places that you may not be able to easily get to on your own regarding that future. Right. I can feel myself like wanting to be in that intention of service for you here, but that's my desire. Right. What I want to do, I want to let you know that's where I'm going, but I want to check in with you in terms of like, what does your heart desire in this moment here? It may not be anything related to that. It may be something completely different, but like, I'm here for you. I got the time and I'm with you.
Okay. So just so we're talking in pure logistics here, are you saying that you've got a larger window to actually continue this conversation?
I have the next
right
hour
now?
for you. I'm up until the next hour.
Oh.
My call, the call that I was going to have is no longer happening. It's been rescheduled.
Uh-huh.
So I have the next hour.
Okay.
We don't need to take the full hour, but I'm just saying that like, I'm here in service, and I'm like, then let's see, you know. So I'm willing to spend that entire time with you. You
okay.
know, and I'll also say this, like, if for me, there's an element of like, we're here. This is the podcast conversation, and we've come to the hour on that. So if we're like at a place where like we close that part of the conversation, and then you and I continue to be in connection and service outside of that, I'm happy to end the recording here, you know, leave us where we are, and then like just continue to be with you. But all I know is that like, I have time for you and I have space for you, and I'm willing to.
Okay, man. Remember before we started the podcast and you were like, hey, you know, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like, hey, let's go deep. Let's be real. Let's like go wherever. And I was like, okay, I feel primed. I kind of saw something like this coming. I've got till 6:30, possibly longer. That's the time it is here. Yeah, man, we're here. We're doing it. This is the way it's unfolding. So let's follow wherever this wants to go. And if this is valuable for your listeners, like if this is of service to your tribe, then great. Let it be of service. Yeah. Let's just keep going and see what happens.
Absolutely. I know that it's of service because it's you, and that's it. It's real. So if you're good with that, then we'll just keep it going.
All
right. Awesome. Okay. So I'm happy to play in any way, shape, or form here. I think what I don't want to do is to attribute what I feel you need as the direction of this going here, right? Let's actually honor like the depth of this. Let's honor like where both of us want to go here. And so from that perspective here, let me just check in with you. What would really serve you right now?
What would this is like such a multi-tiered, vulnerable conversation. What would really serve me right now is I haven't finished the second letter around really exploring what it would be like to still be single in 2 years. I don't know, maybe I got stuck, maybe I got confronted, maybe I just got busy. But I really need to complete that letter and feel complete with that letter so that I can get onto the third letter of integrating the two of them. So honestly, anything that would be in service of feeling complete with that. And maybe that means, like you said, and I don't think you're far off, would be exploring the places where I'm still feeling really challenged or stuck, or maybe even numbed out to certain feelings, or distracting myself from certain feelings around all of this. Does that make sense?
Well, let's see. Like, are you feeling any sensations in your body?
Yes, they're subtle. I feel a very subtle tightness in my jaw. I definitely feel a certain feeling of sadness behind my eyes. I feel a kind of a heaviness in my stomach. Feel myself coming back again to that feeling of sadness behind my eyes. I think growing up, there was something around showing my emotions it just made things worse. Like it would just always make things worse and harder, because then I would get all kinds of, either I would get made fun of in school, or I would get my mother just like, what's wrong? And then she would argue with me about my own feelings, which had me for a long time not be able to trust my feelings, because she would argue with me about them and tell me that I felt wrong, that I was wrong about what I was feeling. She passed away about a decade ago, so I've had a decade to really see beyond all of that, do a tremendous amount of healing work on myself. But I feel like these are some of the remaining things to complete. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say right now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for being with us in the chair. You asked, does it make sense? And I think that like this is, at this point, I think I want to be in like a little bit of your senses here. You know, I want to like allow us to feel what you feel in this part of the conversation. Allow like the depth to be coming from the heart and below. You know, and allow that to play out there. So let's just talk here. I feel like there's some kind of exploration of like I think the thing that's in my mind is you talked about being able to be complete with the second letter. Like what's incomplete for you right now with it? And let me like I can see you thinking, so I'm going to ask the question again. This time I'm going to ask you like please ask your heart, from heart to heart here, from the depth of your heart, like what's incomplete about that letter to you?
I haven't looked at it in a week or two, but I think I skipped to 2 years in the future, where really I should have spent maybe more time talking about the journey of getting to that place, and talking about the things that I needed to move through, the attachments I had to shed, and the grief that I felt in letting go of a certain aspect of my dream, you know, of the kind of partnership that would be so fulfilling and meaningful and profound and evolutionary. Yeah. Yeah. Let me talk about it now. So So I'm going to be, my birthday is August 28th. I'm going to be 50 on that birthday. And like I've just kind of like it's like a markation point. Like if my 50th birthday comes around and I'm still on this completely solo ride through this life, I think I'm just going to stop caring about a lot of things that I've really cared a lot about. And simultaneously grieving that I'm choosing to no longer care about these things. I've just spent too much time caring about something that I don't know if is ever coming. And yeah, I've always wanted a family. I've always wanted a really beautiful sense of home. I've always wanted a partner. And I'm not looking for perfection, but someone who I can at least say, wow, I feel like you get me. Oh my God, that would be so nice. You know, I've created an entire career around having incredibly powerful people feel deeply seen and deeply heard because it's just a reflection of what I want for myself. You know, in a lot of ways, it's me healing myself. But it's something that I so deeply want. And it's like, I can't remember if ever. I can't remember if ever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of relationships, but for the vast majority of my life, I was so checked out and so protective that, you know, all those relationships were just, I wasn't even there. So I don't even know if I've had like a Valentine's Day. Actually, no, I know that I've never had a Valentine's Day with a partner that was just a beautiful, heartwarming night. I've never had a partner that I felt like we both felt truly safe with each other. You know, and these days I'm watching, you know, my friends who I knew when they were single and they got into a relationship and then they broke up and they got into another relationship and they got married and now I'm watching their kids grow up and it's like, oh my God, they're so big now. And it's like, I wanted to be a part of something like that. I wanted to do double dates with friends and go on trips with friends, and it's never happened. I've always been the single guy at the parties. I've always been the single guy at the weddings. And I don't really want to go to weddings anymore. I don't want to be the single guy anymore. I had a relationship that, you know, we were each other's. It was like the biggest karmic knot, the biggest karmic explosion of both of our lives, and it took a long time for us to, first of all, find our way as friends, but second of all, disentangle from each other enough to be able to even have another relationship. And I feel a lot of grief around how much time that has taken away. And apparently it needed to happen because who else was going to come into my life and scrape the bottom of the pond and bring all the black muck up to the surface to dry in the sun? In that way, in a sense, I'm grateful for her because that was all down in there. Something had to get it to the surface, but it took a long time. And yeah, it's hard to imagine being on this journey by myself for the rest of my life, and yet it's been this long. You know, it was like easily a decade ago that I felt like the last squirrel, in a frozen field surrounded by leafless trees still looking for a nut while everybody else is snuggled up together, in their nooks. And that was like years ago that I felt that way. So in some ways, it's almost like sometimes it's almost overwhelming. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can deal with this loneliness. I mean, I'm certainly not going to do anything radical. That's not my game. That's not my style. That's not my game. But sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the feelings of emptiness. And yeah, so looking at the whole 2-year thing.
Hey, Garrison.
Yes.
Before you get there, can I just acknowledge you really quickly, so that we can acknowledge what you just shared in this moment, and slow down into that really quickly.
Okay.
How are you feeling this moment?
Really revealed, and a little self-conscious, a little bit, some feelings of like a little bit of embarrassment, because this is not how I want to be seen. This is not how I want people to know me. This is not a match for this rock star persona that I have, in the other part of my life. It's a part of me that feels hard to be with for myself, much less let other people see this part of me. I mean, from this place, it's like, who's going to want to be with that? Like everything I just shared.
Yeah. And when you say who wants to be with that, what's the that for you? Like, just in a couple of words, like how do you think that you're coming off right now? How do you think that you're being right now?
I think there's a story that, like, who would, having shared everything that I just did, who would want to be in relationship with me? And I don't know.
Well, and just so you know, you accidentally asked yourself a rhetorical question in front of me. So, I may not go down this path much longer, but who would want, sharing everything that you just did and everything you just did here, who would want to be in a relationship with you after hearing that?
Someone who values authenticity and vulnerability. Someone who sees my beauty. Someone who maybe has been on that path themselves and gets it. Although I don't tend to meet a lot of those people. Is that true? I don't know.
And I appreciate you checking the validity of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not because most people on the street, I'm sure, wouldn't consider you to be one of those people.
No. And in fact, I think I've worked hard to not look like one of those people, which has probably gotten in my way, because I think for a lot of my life, I put up a facade of having everything good and being really social and having lots of friends, and all of those things are true, but I think I used those to keep people from seeing how lonely I really felt on the inside, and how much I was struggling with my own inner turmoil. Yeah, and how hard I was working to come to peace with that. Yeah.
I think it's part of why I acknowledge you so much, Garrison, because loneliness is one of my like core that sits at the core of me. Like I choose belonging, I create community and all that because the feeling of being lonely is something that's really true for me. And
Yeah.
we've had conversations about this, and
Right.
there's a flavor of this loneliness that's really true and acute. So I just really want to acknowledge you in being in allowing this to be here and allowing yourself to be with that quote unquote that
Yeah.
this authenticity and so forth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, Garrison, there's an element here that in our conversation so far, when we went to the future, and even when you talk about it now, I'm excited, for your 50th. I'm really excited for that. All right. And thinking about it here, it's like, there's a part here that I just want to just check in with you on, because you had talked about some various feelings earlier that you're like, and then you mentioned the word numbness. You're like, or maybe numbing myself to it. And so I just want to just check in with you in this conversation here. There's almost like a finality that keeps showing up with this in the next 2 years. It's like, if it doesn't happen in the next 2 years, I'm in a relationship with the world. Like, it's never meant to be. The family I want will never be able to happen. Like, there's a lot of finality with that. You know, I want to just kind of call that out. And I'm curious, is that is that coming from the space of numbness? Or is that, like, I'm curious where that's coming from. I just want to just explore if there's any kind of relationship there, not to make it right, not to make it wrong, but just, again, to give you a little bit more light as you go and you write your letters and you continue on from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I appreciate it. One part of it is, like, after a certain point, I don't know that I'm going to want at least children. You know, not that I wouldn't have wanted to be a father, but there's a certain point in getting older that it's like, if you start to do the math, it's like, no, I don't think I'm going to want a teenager when I'm like 75 or who knows what, you know?
Would you want a teenager at 52 or 53?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's not really true. That's not really true. I mean, it's hard to think. First of all, I would never have a child just for the sake of having a child. I would have a child because I'm in a partnership that is so good that we want to have that experience together. And I want to have a partnership that's that good that we would want to do that together. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd want. So, no, not to say that it couldn't happen later in life. I just, you know, the world is changing, and I'm getting older, and it's like I'm changing too. I don't know if that really answers that question all that well. I could definitely see myself getting into a relationship as I get older. And I don't know. The whole aging and getting older thing brings up a lot.
Yeah. Anything you want to voice with that there? You don't have to, but just letting it out in case you do.
Yeah, and I want to pause here because I actually don't want this part to be on the recording.
All right, great. So I'm gonna stop that there. Thank you very much for even just being here with us in that regard here, Garrison. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.